Have you ever been asked, do you love me? Unless it's one of those awkward situations, you probably answered, of course I do. And what do you want to hear back from the one asking the question? You want to hear, I love you too. Do you love me? I love you. I love you too. That's the pattern, right? But that's not what Jesus' disciple Peter heard. Do you love me? Of course I do. Feed my lambs. Do you love me? You know that I do. Tend my sheep. Do you love me? You know everything. You know that I love you. Feed my sheep. By the third time that Peter is being asked, he's feeling pretty bad. He loves Jesus, so why does Jesus keep asking? He must have been starting to wonder if he was answering the question wrong. But it seems like a yes-no question, right? And how could he say no? No, he doesn't love Jesus. Peter kept asking the same question the same way. And isn't that the height of frustration? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. This repetition reminds us, and it must have reminded Peter too, it reminds us that Peter denied that he knew Jesus 3 times the night of Jesus' arrest. Was this 3-part questioning a reminder of that? And I do wonder if that was a later add-on. It doesn't ring quite true that Jesus would rub Peter's nose in his shortcoming. But nonetheless, was it a way of grace or rehabilitation? Peter's mistake is remembered and acknowledged, but that isn't stopping God from calling Peter to great things. Remember, Peter, in all of his humanity, built up the church. We know that the number 3 is a special number. Think of the Trinity, Creator, Christ, and Holy Spirit. That comes to mind. My mother-in-law, Betty, was convinced that deaths happened in 3s. And as a child, if you had the kind of parents that gave you that kind of countdown ultimatum, where did it end? 1, 2, yes, 3. Ooh, didn't want to get to 3. Do you love me? Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. What happens right before Peter's questioning is that Jesus feeds his fishing friends breakfast on the beach. It's also the 3rd time in John's gospel that Jesus appears to his followers after his resurrection. So there's that special number 3 again. At first, they didn't recognize Jesus, but when they did, they were eating together. It's interesting that the story goes from having a meal with Jesus, being fed by Jesus, to feeding others. Feed my sheep. You don't get to hunker down, relax with Jesus, hang on his every word. He gets right to it and he sends you out. Following Jesus isn't a list of beliefs to adhere to. It's love and action. This makes me think about the pandemic. We certainly saw some of the worst that humanity had to offer during that time, but we also saw a lot of love and action. We had leaders and people from all walks, people you might not even expect to hear it from, talk about being in this together, about taking care of each other and finding gratitude. Remember when we talked about how masks weren't about you, but the safety of the other person as well? And we gained a whole new awareness of the sacrifice that essential workers make, and flight attendants and teachers. Remember homeschooling? We did a lot of hard things, and in the midst of a frightening pandemic, we saw a tremendous blossoming of love and action. And of course, there was sacrifice involved. Deep love often includes sacrifice. And you don't need to go out looking to make sacrifices. If you truly love and follow the loving way, those sacrifices will come. One doesn't need to seek them out. I once heard an interview with the wonderful American poet Mark Doty. He had a new, at the time, book coming out, part memoir, part loving tribute to Walt Whitman's poetry. And Doty said something that really caught my attention. He said that the most commonly used word in Whitman's poetry was you. The sense of I was always in relation to others. We are part of a bigger fabric. So even when you are alone, you are part of a greater whole. This really seems to speak to our days. Aren't we in a giant you moment? We see the cuts that are made to our government and institutions, the structures that hold order and hold our common lives and our safety nets. We see these things being cut, and we are concerned not only for ourselves, but for the most vulnerable, those Jesus called the little ones. We worry about the lasting effects for future generations. It's not just about us. We need a counterbalance to the self-centeredness of our society. We need to think about each other and our relation to each other. This is always a difficult balance to strike. Our society is organized in a way that it makes it hard to think of others. So much pushes us to prioritize the individual. We all individually push, we strive, we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps on our own, we think. How many sociologists and psychologists have suggested that our society is growing more and more narcissistic? The terrible state of our precious ecosystem shows us how out of balance we are. We carry on as if the health of the earth has nothing to do with us. The climate crisis isn't generations away, it's right now, and it includes us. We're all affected by the climate change. For the health of us all on so many levels, we need this sense of belonging to each other to be real. We need not only the sense of the you of people now, but also of folks before us and after us. In Leaves of Grass, Whitman writes in section 3 of Crossing Brooklyn Ferry, "It avails not, time or place, distance avails not. I am with you, you men and women of the generation or ever so many generations hence. Just as you feel when you look on the river and sky, so I felt. Just as any of you is one of a living crowd, I was one of the crowd. Just as you were refreshed by the gladness of the river and the bright flow, I was refreshed. Just as you stand and lean on the rail, yet hurry with the swift current, I stood, yet was hurried." Have you ever had a sense of this? This connection between ourselves, our ancestors, and our descendants to come? We are one, part of a larger whole. May we get glimpses of it. Sometimes we do indeed get glimpses of it, say at the birth of a child, or gazing into the stars at night, or when we have dreams that seem like visitations from long dead loved ones, or when our minds quiet and we feel some peace. I know that I've had flashes of this greater connection when I visited Sweden. My maternal grandfather's family is from Sweden, and when family goes to visit Sweden and the relatives that live there, one of the places that we always go is to my great-grandmother's church. Mormor kyrka, we say, and here is a picture of the church. So to see that church and to sit in one of the old pews inside, and to touch in the next slide the old baptismal font, worn smooth by generations of hands and baptisms, including my own great-grandmother's, it gives me a sense of this larger connection of which I am a part. The next slide. I've looked in the sky and wondered, what did she see? Are we looking at the same patch of sky? And the next slide. To see the birch trees and wildflowers my ancestors knew, to taste strawberries grown by the warmth of the sun, and in the next slide, as it feels in their neighborhood. It's a tremendous feeling of mystery and connection. And I feel that same way, feeling the mystery of connection when I hear this story about Jesus sitting on the beach, freshly resurrected, and still teaching his followers. Those questions that Peter hears, I hear those in the same way that I hear the bell at my great-grandmother's church. Those questions still resonate in the air, ringing out to us. In the next slide. And those questions: do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Tend my lambs. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. The word gospel, we remember, means good news. The gospel tells us the stories of Jesus, but they aren't history books. Because they are good news, there is something that is new and ongoing about them. When we hear news, it's something current and alive. It has to do with us and our lives in the here and now. And that's the kind of story that Jesus' stories are, resonating with us in the here and now. So we have an opportunity, a monumental one, to hear Jesus' questions as news. Kind of like our daily news briefing. Imagine that briefing every day. Do you love me? Tend my sheep. Do you love me? Tend my lambs. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. That's news. And we have an incredible opportunity to do just that, to tend Jesus' sheep. The opportunity really is of historic proportions, this opportunity that we have this very day, because the brokenness and need are so great in this world, and we don't know what to do. We might have some ideas and some pieces, but we really don't know what to do because the task is so big. But then I think of those confused followers sitting around Jesus that day. They didn't have a clue what to do either. They were fishers. Jesus had called them to follow him and said, I'll have you fish for people. And they do that for 3 years. Then their teacher dies, devastating. They thought he was the one who was going to turn around the whole world, and he dies. But then 3 days later, they're having breakfast with him. The old way is gone, but the new way isn't clear yet. Does that sound familiar? Then Jesus starts questioning their love for him and saying repeatedly, feed my sheep. What do fishers know about sheep? They know about fish, not sheep. What could that possibly mean? Is this really the time, Jesus, to be mixing metaphors and confusing people? But there was something that was the same. There is a thread. When Jesus called the disciples out of their boats in the beginning in their old lives, he said, follow me. And after Peter tells Jesus he loves him there 3 times, Jesus says the same thing, follow me. He says those old familiar words again, follow me. So there it is in a nutshell, the connection between loving and following Jesus. Love and action, they go together, they support each other. They can't be separated. They are part of the you of humanity. So what's your answer to Jesus' question, do you love me? And I'm not talking about just saying those 3 easy yeses. That's really the easy part. But what's the bigger answer to those questions? How will you feed Jesus' sheep? We each have an answer to that question as unique as we are. Jesus' disciples were fortunate in that they had on-the-job training with Jesus. He didn't give them a list of things to believe, but they had things to do to love people, and that they all did together as followers. We are connected to Jesus not only through his followers through the ages, but because he is present with us now. Remember what the angel at the empty tomb said to the woman, on Easter morning. He's going ahead of you. You will see him. And we do. We have the opportunity to see Jesus as we follow him by feeding his sheep. Will you see Jesus? Do you love me? Tend my sheep. Do you love me? Tend my lambs. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. Follow me. May it be so. Amen.